Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the secrets hidden in plain sight within corporate filings. And today we're looking at a company that's apparently trying to get bigger by getting together with someone else, which always makes for an interesting story. On August 25, 2025, Crescent Energy Company dropped this fascinating filing, Form 8K, which is like a special report for big unexpected events that happen to publicly traded companies. Think of it as the company's way of saying, hey, something important just happened and you need to know about it right now. What they're telling us is that they've struck a deal to merge with another company called Vital Energy. So what does this all mean? Well, Crescent Energy is basically saying they're buying Vital Energy. This isn't just a small handshake deal though, this is a pretty significant move for Crescent. The filing details that Crescent, which they're calling parent here, has signed an agreement to combine with Vital Energy. To make this happen, they're using a couple of shell companies named Venus Merger Sub I and 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 Venus Merger Sub IA and Venus Merger Sub I and Venus Merger Sub I and Venus Merger Sub IA and Venus Merger Sub II and Venus Merger Sub I and Venus Merger Sub II and Venus Merger Sub I 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 and Venus Merger. This whole deal is described as an all-equity transaction. What that means in simple terms is that Crescent is paying for Vital by giving Vital's shareholders their own stock, not cash. This is important because it means the deal is based on how the market values both companies' shares. The actual merger process is described in a couple of steps. First, the subsidiary Venus Merger Sub I will merge with Vital Energy, with Vital continuing as the main company. Then right after that, this surviving company will then merge with another subsidiary, Venus Merger Sub IO. By the end of this, Venus Merger Sub IO will be the company that owns everything. It sounds a bit like a legal puzzle, but the goal is to consolidate everything neatly under Crescent's umbrella. Now for the really interesting part, who ends up owning what? After all the dust settles, the current shareholders of Crescent Energy will own about 77% of the combined company. Vital Energy's shareholders, on the other hand, will own the remaining 23%. This tells us that Crescent is clearly the dominant partner in this merger, as expected, since they are the ones acquiring Vital. To get the word out, both Crescent and Vital put out a joint press release. They're also planning a conference call on the same day, August 25, to talk more about this deal. You'll often see companies do this, to give all the important details at once and let investors and the media know what's going on. Crescent also put up an investor presentation. The title itself, Establishing a Top 10 Independent Crescent Energy to Acquire Vital Energy, really tells you their ambition. They see this merger as a way to significantly boost their standing in the energy industry, potentially making them one of the top players. Now, a lot of these filings have standard legal disclaimers, and this one is no different. They make it very clear that this communication is for information only and isn't trying to get people to buy or sell stock. They're just announcing the deal. They also mentioned that they'll be filing more documents with the SEC, specifically a Form S4 registration statement. This document is super important because it will contain detailed information about the transaction, including a combined prospectus and proxy statement. This is where shareholders will get all the nitty-gritty details to understand the deal and vote on it. They're urging investors to read these documents carefully once they are available because they'll contain crucial information about the merger. This section really emphasizes how critical it is for investors to do their homework. They're basically saying, don't just take our word for it. Read all the official paperwork. This is standard practice to ensure no one can say they weren't informed about the details of a major corporate action like this merger. Then there's a bit about who might be considered participants in convincing shareholders to vote for the merger. This part explains that the directors and top executives of both Crescent and Vital might be involved in encouraging their respective shareholders to approve the deal. It's a disclosure to make sure everyone knows who's influencing the decision-making process. They point towards previous filings like Crescent's annual report from February of this year to show where you can find details about their leaders and their financial stakes in the company. This is important for transparency as it shows the alignment of interest between management and shareholders. Similarly, they refer you to Vital's proxy statement from April to get the same kind of background information on Vital's leadership. This helps investors understand any potential conflicts of interest or motivations that management might have regarding the merger. And then we get to the forward-looking statements and cautionary statements section. This is where companies talk about the future, but they do it very carefully. They use words like expect, believe, anticipate to describe what they think might happen. But they also add a whole lot of warnings about all the things that could go wrong and prevent those future events from actually happening. Think of it as saying, we hope this happens, but there are a million ways it might not. This is crucial. They're explicitly stating that many things can prevent the results they're hoping for from actually occurring. It's a standard but important disclaimer that you should always pay attention to. They're essentially covering themselves for any future scenarios where things don't go according to plan. They also point out that many of the factors that could impact the future are outside of their control, and they direct you to their other filings on the SEC website for more details. This is a way to say that you can find even more in-depth information if you want to really dig into the potential risks. Finally, the document is signed off by Bo Shi, who is identified as the General Counsel. This is the formal end of the report, signifying that the company has officially submitted this information to the SEC. So what's my take on all of this? Crescent Energy acquiring Vital Energy looks like a strategic move aimed at growth and becoming a bigger player in the energy sector. The all-equity nature of the deal suggests they're focused on conserving cash and are confident in the value of their own stock. From a shareholder perspective, the 77-23 split indicates Crescent shareholders will remain in control, with Vital shareholders getting a stake in the larger combined entity. The risks, as they themselves point out, are significant. Mergers are complex, and successfully integrating two companies, retaining key talent, and achieving the planned synergies are always major challenges. The market's reaction to the announcement, the terms of the final deal, and how well the combined company performs in the volatile energy market will be critical indicators of success. While this filing is primarily about announcing the deal and not about detailed financials, the ambition stated in the investor presentation is clear, and now it's up to management to execute this ambitious plan. Alright, that's our breakdown of this merger announcement. What's your take on this deal and what it means for both Crescent and Vital? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit that like button. It really does help us out. And subscribe to Corporate Decoder for more deep dives into the financial world. Don't forget to join our Discord community. The link is in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.